Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Life on the Hulls. And Janet and I have been spending a couple of days a week down on the boat, and it's just been magic. We've had a few trips up to my mum's place and up to my sister's place to get ready for Christmas. So we're at about the 4th of December at the moment. 38 degree day here today. It is stinking. We're going to have a couple of days on the boat here. Janet's got a day on marine rescue tomorrow, out doing a search and rescue operation, and I'm going to spend the weekend working. I've been working in the factory pretty much every day, apart from my few trips away, just getting these kayaks finished, and that's been really interesting to have a nice change for me. Even though it's what I do for a living, it's nice to do it for a change because I spent so much time on the boat here. Now every day, so I come down to the boat here, I'm bringing tons of stuff at the moment. I've got 60 litres of fresh water there. I've got a brand new Weber barbecue that I'm going to put on my mount, and I've got 2 gas bottles. The biggest gas bottles we could put on the boat were 2.5 kilo bottles. So unfortunately, where I intend to store them in the back lazarette here, there's really not a lot of room, and I want to make sure that I can switch them out. The only issue with these LPG or these gas bottles is that the fittings here are smaller, so I've had to come up with a couple of adapters, and I'm going to run a bulkhead fitting through the back of the boat so that it mounts onto my mount on the back of the boat here. Now, excuse the mess here, but I haven't quite been here for a while, but I do need to modify this. I don't really think it's going to be strong enough. So my barbecue mount here, and I've got to do a bit of stainless polishing here, sorry, but it's going to mount here, and then there'll be a bulkhead fitting down in that back wall there so that it's a very direct line. There's no other gas inside the boat at all. It's essentially a gas-free boat apart from our barbecue right at the very back, so we can just open the locker and throw the bottles in the water should we have to. Everything else is electric in here, and inside this boat at the moment, I took a temperature reading at the moment, is 48 degrees. So I'm not going in there. It's been locked up for a few days without any hatches open. I've just come in and opened a few hatches to let it air. There has not been one breath of wind today. It's supposed to blow 30 knots from the north. It didn't blow, and my God, it is hot. It's 38 degrees and about 90% humidity, and we're feeling it today, especially up in the factory. I just have to leave early, and I'm quite overwhelmed with the heat. I'm into some hydrolytes, some electrolytes to try to replenish. The other thing I fitted the other day was a couple of drink holders. I know you've all been just desperate to see my drink holders, but check these blingy things out. This one here isn't for a drink holder. It's for a signal horn that I have. It's a aerosol type signal horn, and basically I just want to have that at quick access. I will ultimately fit a proper horn to the boat, because I have needed it here with a couple of stand-up paddleboarders and kayakers in the creek here, and particularly the jet skis. But yeah, these drink holders, talk about bling, boys. I mean, that is just amazing. So yeah, the helm's starting to get a little bit complicated. There's a lot going on in our helm station. I do love it. I think it's just the best part of the boat. I'm so glad I spent about a year doing this. It really did make a big difference to the way that the boat's controlled and handled, and it also gives you a level of comfort that I just don't think I've ever had in a helm. Unfortunately, as I had to mention today, having this helm station, this raised roof and boom up higher than the normal center of effort of this boat, is that it is affecting us at anchor. It's getting us blown around a little bit. And someone suggested today that when we're on anchor, we might want to move our boom across, on a mooring, to move our boom across to sort of counteract the wind or to counteract the movement of the current. So that's certainly something I will think about, more so the wind, I'd imagine. But that big boom bag is a big sail without even the sails going up, and that will certainly affect our position at anchor and the movement around the anchorage. So it has been a monumental week. Last Thursday we drove up to my sister Chrissy's place up in the Blue Mountains, west of Sydney, and we got into some serious mowing, slashing of around about 4 or 5 acres of land, and we did a 3-day solid work because there is a bushfire season coming. And it's not looking like a good one either, unfortunately, over Christmas. And in preparation for Christmas, we went up there and spent 3 days there, doing a lot of drinking and talking, but a hell of a lot of hard yakka. Came back Sunday night. Monday morning was straight into being involved with Michael and Susie Roberts' 60-foot catamaran, home built from scratch. This thing, 16 years of effort. I mean, Michael, talk about inspiration. That video is going to come up soon. I'll put a little clip of it right now, just being lifted into the water. It was a full-on deja vu moment for Janet and I. We experienced something twice. Our launch in their launch, and their launch went Well, a little bit more easily than ours, but not quite as easily as I think we would have expected, given the amount of equipment, staff, team, and crane operators and everything involved. And yeah, wow, what a moment to see that big thing lifted into the water and touch down. And I've caught up with Michael through the week here. We're going to be doing a full video of his launch pretty soon, probably in a few weeks' time after Christmas. And I'm hoping that you'll all join me. And if you want some inspiration, this guy is inspiration personified. If you want to be inspired by something, you've got to watch this. If you cannot believe the effort and the time and the money and the angst that have gone into this incredible build, and it's all in the guise of inspiring others. I mean, when I talked to him, he said, I've just got to get to work every day and just keep going. You pick up the tool and you get to work, and eventually one thing leads to another, and 16 years later he has this incredible catamaran. So hang tight for that, guys. It's coming up soon. Okay, so I've got our Weber Q here, and I brought it down to the boat in the hope that I can at least see if my amazing bracket that I've designed is going to be strong enough. I do feel I'm going to have to beef it up. Our friend Alan Herlick has actually sent me some photos of a mate that actually has almost the identical thing. Is the damn's eye better than mine, so I better get my act together and beef it up. But I'll sit it in place and we'll see if it is actually going to be strong enough. And I do have a problem. I do fear that it's not going to be anywhere near strong enough. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. Well, it's holding, but I wouldn't trust it. I just fear that that bracket is nowhere near strong enough, and if that bolt breaks, I'm going to lose a barbecue. But I do like the idea of it. It's certainly fitting in place quite well, and it will certainly, once I beef up that bracket, it will do a great job of giving us a barbecue that we can stack and store. To have it actually mounted there, it's actually the optimum spot for it because it's out of the way, but it is not going to be anywhere near strong enough. So I'm going to take that bracket back with me, get the TIG out and start to weld up something a lot stronger, because if that breaks, that barbecue's going in the water. I'm not happy. I don't think that'll take much to knock that in, particularly in a rough seaway. We'd probably lose that barbecue. But anyway, it's certainly doing its job, and it's doing what I designed it to do. It just needs to be a hell of a lot stronger. I think the concept was good. The execution certainly not. I'm going to have to seriously improve that mechanism. Like, the whole idea is to move that out of the way, and clearly it's out of the way, but it's certainly a bloody nightmare to operate. So I need something a little bit softer, a better bearing arrangement. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. Definitely sort of what I was anticipating. It's not going to live there, but it's out of the way, and certainly going to be an asset to the boat if I can ever get the bloody mechanism right. I'm just looking at it there. It's simply it's not strong enough, but I can easily beef that up. I mean, the actual bracket itself is certainly strong enough. It's more the little clamps and the bearing that's in it. I might have to lube that up with lanolin or some Vaseline or something just to keep it nice and easy to move, and probably end up with a lot of corrosion in that stanchion otherwise. So anyway, I've got a lot to do here. Now, the other idea I've coined, and Janet's just about over me, but we are going to need it. It's something we're going to have to do, is a solar array. So I intend down here, right on here, we're going to have a stainless upright, a 2-inch stainless 316 stainless upright that then goes all the way across to the other side and back down, and that'll be in 2-inch or 316 stainless, polished stainless. And then I'm going to tie it back to the hard top here on the top of it, not on the bottom of it. And the reason why I'm going to do that, I'm going to make it 30 centimeters higher than the hard top. It'll be around about this high, and I have a reason for doing that. Is that the whole dream of this cat for Janet and I, or for me, was to take sea kayaks, not poxy little sit-on tops and little poxy fishing kayaks and little inflatable things, proper expedition sea kayaks to places that we can't normally get them to, and that is generally into the South Pacific. Very hard to get good quality kayaks like the ones we make into places where we really want to paddle. So I'm going to make two 14.5-foot sea kayaks that are going to fit neatly up under this hardtop, or up under the new solar array, and then they'll be out of the weather. It'll also give our tender a heap of sun protection, and the other thing that's more important is that we'll barely see them. They won't protrude any lower than this crossbar here, so we won't lose that view, because that has just been the making of us, that view. That view is something that we just live for. We do not want to have anything blocking that view. Even our tender is just low enough. It's just high enough to avoid a falling sea, but it's just low enough to give us that expansive view. That is the view we must maintain, because I do not want to have a dirty great bunch of kayaks and stand-up paddle boards and stuff blocking that view. So the idea will be up here, the sea kayaks will hang up underneath this solar array. I'll get that made pretty quickly, and then I'll have 3 bars that will tie it back into the top of the hard top, right in front or adjacent or behind the traveller, and they will tie in back into feet, probably 3 or even 4 25mm feet in the top of the hard top here, and essentially that will complete the job, and it'll make a big difference to the overall sunshade that we're going to get. I'm about to put these 60 litres into the boat, and I'll get another 60, and in fact I'll come back with 80 and just top up the water supplies, as we don't have a water maker. And that's the next topic of conversation. Why haven't you got a water maker? Well, quite frankly, we can't afford one right now. We've had a lot of expenses with going to Europe and everything, and we're just putting it off. And ultimately, we will get one. I'm actually talking to a couple of companies at the moment. We want to have something that is 240 volt. We're not interested in a 12 volt system. We want something that's going to basically make a reasonable amount of water. We want at least 100 litres an hour. So Seawater Pro, Rain Man, something like that. I do want something that I can instantly install. I don't want to have to go and put it in. I love those portable ones. Are just fantastic. There's some great new portable ones on the market that certainly do the volume that's required, but that's going to be a whole nother story. Well, we're sort of at the point where we're doing a lot of internal trims and trying to tidy up all the unfinished work that we've been doing, and I'm having a couple of days on the boat here. One thing that I've been really trying to do is get this line organizer from the top, the actual underside, finished. Now the problem with it has been that I just haven't been able to get any Velcro to stick. Yesterday when I arrived down at the boat, I glued some foam pucks. As you can see, I screwed Velcro to the edges of it, and it's self-adhesive, and that should certainly hold it in place. And then down here we have the liner. It's a plush liner, so it's going to look nice and consistent with the rest of the boat. And then I've actually used the self-adhesive on the outer perimeter of it. Now these may need to be stapled down like we've done with all of our other ceiling liners that you see throughout the boat. These are very important to actually have these stapled on, because as the adhesive lets go during a day like today, the whole thing comes crashing down. We've actually stopped all the liners from falling down, and I do have the nice Tasmanian oak strips that I'm going to put in between each of them, and they'll be screwed into the roof, and that'll stop any problem with any sort of any of the roof linings falling down. But for now, I'm just going to put this liner back in place, and that's going to fit up in there, and that'll make that look nice, and avoid anyone hitting their head on these vicious stainless nuts. Now there's no exposed threads there to hit your head on. However, it's still nice to have it nice and padded. Now the other thing I did yesterday, I bought a hacksaw because I don't want to be doing any grinding in the boat here. But one thing that I've actually found is that by grinding inside the boat, all of my gel coat tends to get rust spots in it, so I'm not going to be doing that anymore. And I've now put nice dome nuts. Now they're not in the way of hitting your head or anything, but it also, if you were to catch your hand on it or something, having those 316 stainless nuts makes a massive difference to the safety within the boat. I've got another 3 over here. Now these ones are just above the companionway here. I probably wouldn't hit my head on it, but my little brother might, because he's pretty tall, and young Jeff definitely will hit his head on it because he's tall and he has no awareness of where his head is. Every time he comes into the boat, he cracks his head on everything. It's just absolutely comical. And a few years ago, I actually removed the bloody the stupid little button on the top of these caps, which I remove off every hat, and then I've just put a hat on. Guess what? It's got another bloody dome on it, so I'm going to get rid of that as well, because I'll end up with that indentation that I have permanently in my skull. Finally, we get to put this in place. I'm hoping it's going to look all right, and we should end up with a good result here. I just have to make sure I position it pretty carefully because it is a bit of a precise fit. That would be my 4th attempt at fitting that bloody thing, and finally it's in place. It looks so good. I mean, honestly, that is just such a simple fit, and we've covered up a mess, and we're going to continue working through the boat like that and get it all beautiful so that we're happy and complete. There's nothing worse than having a half-finished boat, and I think everybody has a half-finished boat, and I certainly am no exception to that rule. But today I'm going to be working on the starboard head, our ensuite head. I've actually got it all plumbed in. I've just got to put a couple more hoses in and action the through hole, and then feed it back to the Blackwater tank, hook that up, and we've got everything sorted so we can use our starboard head. It's been a bit of a mission going from the starboard side to the port side every time you need the dunny. But, you know, it's one of those things that, you know, it is a first world problem. At least we've got a dunny. I've got quite a bit of work to do down in our starboard head. Right down here in our main cabin here, excuse the mess here at the moment, but what I'll be doing today is actually connecting the main sanitary line from the Y valve in behind the hatch there, down under the floor there. There's a True Design through hole. Now we've only used True Design. We didn't want bronze, we didn't want any sort of metallic through holes, and certainly we definitely didn't do PVC through holes. There's nothing worse than having cheap through holes in a boat. But these have a load collar on them as well. Every single one of our through holes has a load collar on it. First things first, I'm going to get this toilet out. It's a bit of a heavy bug. I'm going to put it back in the back cabin so that I can work sort of freely without having to worry about leaning over this thing, because it is a bit of a tight space in here, but it is heavy, and I don't like being in bare feet while I'm working on this thing because it's so heavy. But as you can see, the door is designed to fit the toilet through it. I thought about that just after I decided that they didn't fit. So I've now got full access to all the workings of what's going on in here, and it's a pretty complicated space down in behind this hatch. We've got a few things going on here. We've got a Y valve which is actually mounted to the crash bulkhead here. So you've got Blackwater and direct discharge there, and up in here we have all of our freshwater plumbing. So I actually deliberately made this space so I'd have access to everything. We've had no leaks in our plumbing system, so I'm absolutely delighted with that. It's been a big job doing all this PEX pull-on crimping. I do have some accumulator tank issues. I'm trying to move them somewhere in line away from the pump, because it's actually taking up some storage space, and I've got other areas that I can actually put it potentially in the bilge, as long as it's in line. Apparently everyone's advised me it doesn't matter where they are as long as they're in the line. And then here we have the solenoid. Now this is the main feed for the toilet. This will be mounted on this side of the bulkhead, directly behind the toilet. And then down here we've got all the workings of the actual toilet itself. Now the direct discharge, once the toilet is macerated, can go out of a 25mm sanitary hose. So I've got a massive roll of it here, and I'm going to use that for breather hoses and everything. We don't want to have breather hoses that aren't sanitary rated, because you end up with a smell in them. So these are anti-smell hoses, and pretty happy to have a big roll of that. I'm going to need pretty much all of that 20 metres there to do all my breather hoses and all of my runs that I need to do. Okay, so this is going better than I thought it would. I've got my True Design through hole 1-inch outlet there, and we've got our sanitation hose here ready to feed through the hatch here, down underneath and straight to that. And that'll complete the plumbing for that head alone. It doesn't complete the plumbing for the shower. We do have to complete a sump arrangement, which is like some sort of a rural Blackwater tank to complete the bathroom, shower, grey water system. But the Blackwater system is the most important right now, because Janet wants a toilet, and she wants a toilet close to the bed, not on the other side of the world. Bloody hard to film this because it's a 3-foot drop into that bilge, and I don't want to break my ankles or anything. But anyway, we'll get over here, open up this hatch, and we'll feed this hose down through the back here. Look, I can't emphasise enough how much foresight I should say, and in hindsight I probably should have left myself even more room, but I have seriously thought that through from day one. Access to things like this, when you're fighting it through little compartments, I'm putting everything in after the construction's complete, rather than constructing the boat with all this stuff already in it, with the looms already laid. That way I can access it and I can remove it, and that has been a win for me. If you're doing up a boat or you're building a boat, make sure you think of this 3 to 4 years ahead, and I was lucky enough to have that sort of foresight, I guess, to smash these out, and it's made a monster difference to the fit out. It's saved me weeks of work. Alright, so this one's got to go down here. The direct discharge is on this side, so I'm going to feed that through. And you can see it actually coming out in the bottom here. I'm precariously balancing here, so it's coming out here. It then needs to go in and underneath the back of the head there and down into this compartment here. And I'll just have a little hamstring cramp while I'm filming this. Jesus, it is tenuous at best. We'll just hold that right there. So last thing you want to see is a hose being pulled, but anyway, story of my life at the moment. So that's coming through. We need to make sure all these lines aren't going to cross either, so that's actually coming through under there. Right, so this 1-inch hose here will hook into this True Design through hole here, and that'll complete the system there. We've already got the siphon in, we've also got the Y valve in, we've got the solenoid there. All I need to do now is hook up the fresh water to the back of the toilet and that sanitation hose here to the back of the toilet, and we're done. Then the electrical side is pretty simple. I was in a boat the other day, had a boat come in to do a transom service, and I was looking at some of the fittings that were on the hoses, and they were not 316, they were 304 stainless. I'm starting to rust. I always buy 316 stainless hose clamps, and every single hose in this boat has 2 clamps on it. Now these aren't the ideal. These guys here, you're better off with the ones with the bolts, but they are super expensive, and literally I have hundreds of them on the boat, so I'd have thousands and thousands of dollars worth of the bolt type. But for things like sanitation and plumbing, you can get away with these little guys here, but as long as you buy 316, so important. They're about 3 times the price, but 3 times the longevity, or 10 times the longevity than standard mild steel or 304. We've got this hose here. This is going to connect to this Y valve that I've mounted against the bulkhead here, and obviously we've got direct discharge, or right there is direct discharge, and that is into the black water tank, and that's mounted securely. You want that as secure as possible. And then up in here, as you can see, we have True Design siphon vent. If you ever get an airlock, you can actually loosen off the valve at the top. It is designed for plumbing, so it's 38mm. It is a sanitation grade one. Make sure you end up buying that. It has a liner in it. Typically the ones for raw water intake and that are just a simple plastic siphon vent, and they don't have that extra liner. These seem to be lined with something, and that obviously is going to keep the smell down, so we don't want the smell. That is really, really critical in a sanitation system like this. The last thing you want is these smells protruding through these hoses, and hopefully I can replace these pretty easily, because once again everything has been installed after the construction, not during the construction, and that has been so critical, because if I ever have to replace a hose, I can get to every single hose. There's not one hose or one piece of wiring in this boat that I can't replace reasonably quickly. And it's just been the busiest day on the water. It's 38 degrees. It's pretty hot down in here, but the busiest day on the water I've seen since about April, and it's now December, sort of mid-December, so everyone's hitting the water. 38-degree day, you get thousands of jet skis and boats and ski boats and you name it, sailboats. Everybody's heading out on the water today, and it makes it a little bit challenging doing work down in the bilge, because every time a boat goes past, and I'm getting knocked around right now as it stands. There's a ferry just went past, but anyway, we're set now to complete that job. And that is really good to have that plumbing now completed. All I've got to do now is tidy up around the bathroom, around the toilet itself, and then I can install the toilet and then get the electrics done. So Janet's going to be most pleased in a couple of days when this is all done and dusted.